Michigan had pictures of it going through the dunes, so it did pretty good. It was supposed to be for Saudi Arabia. We really don't know how many were actually built. It does have an engineering department code number wrote on the back window though.
Okay, I'm going to come around and get the back.
All right.
Okay.
All right, this is one of the best cars that's out here right now. As you can see, it was probably, I'm sure it is a 50. The floor is rusted, but the body is still basically pretty good. There were a little rust around the trunk lid. Up in the back, the right corner of the window, you can see that mark where his arm is up there. It's got an engineering code on there. That was made from the factory there. The floor could be fixed. It is a regular four-door sedan. There's no frame under it. None of the cars out here, I think there's only one car out here that's got a frame under it. But that is one of them. And that car there would be worth taking out, I believe. That's just definitely probably the only one in existence. We've never seen anything else. Well, a 48, they made a couple of 48s maybe, but this is a 50. I've never seen a 51.
Come on, shut down.
All right. Believe it or not, this car, when we found it, they had raccoon or groundhogs inside, but the headliner was still in one piece. They couldn't believe it. I don't know what happened to the door on it.
Oh, the groundhog.
And none of they don't have any serial numbers on them. Make a nice restoration.
Well, now it's coming out pretty good. All of a sudden, you know what? Yeah, there's the wheel wells, and they're solid as a rock. The body,
those are solid.
the body's solid, isn't it? Except for
the body is, you know, around here, it's. I've seen worse. You know, up here, the street usually rusts out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I'd say it's got a year or two more.
Yeah.
Before it really starts to come apart.
The tree fell the other direction. There's a lot of these that the trees have fallen.
Have just destroyed.
Have just destroyed since the last time we've been out here. It was like 1980 was the last time we'd come out.
Okay, I'm gonna take a panoramic view of some of the other cars.
It was a 6-cylinder, I believe.
Nothing special.
Nothing special about it. Other than,
there's no reason even to be here then.
No.
This wasn't the one that was crashed.
No.
It's out here, right?
Yeah.
The one that was in the crash test?
I'll show you that one pretty soon.
Okay.
That was one crash in the four-door. I got pictures of that crash test too.
Okay. I'm gonna stop. What's this thing behind it?
All right, this here is a 48 or 47 to 49 somewhere. It's got a rust hole in the roof even. See, groundhog's been living under the floor. Hard to believe door handle rust out. Sunken down. Nothing left of it.
Oh, look at that roof going over the back window. Is that weird, or is that just the way it's made?
It's rusted.
It's rusted, okay.
The tree laid on it and pushed it down.
Okay, I'm gonna shut down.
There's still some good glass in it.
Okay.
All right. This is the Model N car. This was supposed to have been the 100th anniversary car. But this never did. This is a peculiar car. It's totally different than anything Studebaker. Absolutely nothing. The dash, the doors, this Z on the door is totally different. This car was damaged though when they brought it out here. I think that when they shoved it out here, they tore it up pretty bad. It's got different back window, tail lights. Looks like it's got fender skirts. This car here is actually pretty good, except for the heavy damage on the door, which you would never be able to replace, and the door is missing on the other side.
Come on, shut down.
This is the back of the N series. It's got a different trunk lid, and it had a big chrome bezel on the taillight. This is plastic here. That's why there's no rust back here. But it's really something, because none of this is rusted out here. It's all pretty much in shape. Trunk lid. Back window was broke out.
Is that trunk open?
When we found it.
Is that trunk open yet? Well, kinda.
There's a lid there. Okay?
Yeah.
Look at that S on there.
Where?
Look at the S on there.
Yeah. Look, he found a heater core with still got a Studebaker S on it.
Oh, over there.
There's nothing inside the trunk line. Just,
okay.
but it is.
Now this car you're standing in front beside it's nothing.
No, you've got to go over here and get a better shot of this. This is crazy. Never seen the front of this car, but I know what it looked like.
Okay, I'm gonna shut down.
This was damaged when it was pushed out here. This is just the back half of a Starlight coupe, and what it's got, this has got this unusual, this It's real large. It's almost twice the size of a regular Starlight back window. Fenders on it are in good shape. This is all, and what's unusual about this car is the fenders are not unbolted. On the other ones, the fender is bolted on. This fender is welded right onto the car. It's not like the one that's in the back there. Yeah, it's still got, what does it got in there? Still got gas pedals on. Yeah. Still pieces left.
The body, these bodies are pretty well gone though.
Yeah, the bodies are real bad on it.
Okay, I'm shutting off. Okay.
All right, this, believe it or not, was the best end car of the bunch. And sometime in the last, that's been 12 years, they destroyed it. I don't know what they did with it. Smashed it all up into a ball. This was the car that we wanted to take out. This was really crazy because we come out here and we found all the pieces to it except the hood. And we was standing around in an area something like this, and Phil Brown was with me, and we kicked something metal, and it was the hood. And the hood fit on that thing absolutely perfect. It was the hood for the car. And we put the dog house right here. We found the dog house, the bumper, everything, which was a 52 N-series front end. There it is, smashed to pieces.
Shut down.
All right, this is a 42 front end. They use this on 41 and 42. The body is way over on the other side of the other cars, but they used this car. They towed it behind other cars. They had weight on it, and it was used as a test vehicle just for towing. This has been 2 or 3 different colors. It shows red, gray, and blue at one time. We took some of the chrome pieces off that for somebody's car.
That truck there behind there, what is it?
The what?
The truck behind it there?
No, that's just a regular old.
Nothing special.
That's a R series. Actually, there's 2 trucks. There's quite a few trucks out here.
Okay. What about that one with the trees on?
That's just a regular old pickup truck.
No, it looks like a Starlight.
53. That's a 53 sedan. The tree come down in there. These trees comes down. I think there was 200 trees that come down out here in 1986.
Oh.
And they have really done a number on it.
Okay, we're on.
All right, the car was here before the tree was, evidently. They've got engineering numbers on it. There's nothing special about that. This is a 50. Split back window 250.
Okay, the next one here we're going to.
All right, this is a 53 sedan with factory air conditioning on it. 2-piece back window.
And show that little vent there.
Yeah, that's
There's the duct on the side there.
They had this funny looking taillight. They had, what these had was they had plastic air conditioning ducts that come up into the back window. The air conditioning was trunk mounted. And a nice looking taillight over there.
Okay.
Taillight is still in good shape. I would say that thing is probably stainless steel. There's no pits on that at all, or maybe even aluminum. I don't know. It should be taken off there.
Okay, we're off there.
All right, this car here is a 53 or 54. Well, probably I'd say 53. It's all been put together with countersunk sheet metal screws. The whole thing, everything on it is put together across the trunk. Everything has all been put together with sheet metal screws. No welding on it at all. Trunk lid's laying there. This also had, evidently, for air conditioning ducts on it. This car was maroon at one time. No, actually, this car here, this is the 42 that I showed you the front end for.
Okay.
This was a 42.
That was the one they pulled, you said?
Yeah, this was the one they pulled behind other cars.
Okay.
This has had top sectioned on it. This car has really been around. This is the one my friend took the window frame from.
You think this has always been a Studebaker car, never sold or anything?
No.
It was always used at the factory. Probably has more miles on any car Studebaker ever made, huh?
Yeah. This has been around.
How's that condition?
Yeah, this is bad.
It's bad.
Yeah, this is so bad. If it was any good, they would have taken it out before.
Okay, what do we got here next to it? Mic stand next to it.
This is just a 53.
Top's caved.
Yeah, there's up the left of this thing anyway.
Pretty well shot.
The doghouse, so these two cars are both sitting right here.
Yeah, we set these dog houses up. We set these dog houses up because they were still good on one part of them. Somebody wanted to save
Okay,
them.
now this one to the right is a 53.
Yeah, it's a 53 coupe.
It just nothing special.
No, there's nothing special about this.
You wonder why they brought some of these out here.
Bring around here. This is something about this. The K models, that's the Hawks and coupes, never had a wraparound windshield. It looks like this was a crude attempt at one time to put a wraparound windshield on a C model. That's the coupe. And that's how they was going to form the windshield, form the glass on it. That's no wonder they had a hard time. It's crazy.
Okay, we're off. Ron.
This is an R series truck, which had a real good cab on it at one time, but the trees come down across it. Still had some good doors on it. Well, the bottoms are gone. Inside of it is really something. Inside of it is still pretty good shape. Still got a headliner on it.
Okay, now to the left.
All right, Mike, is this the test car that was smashed?
Yeah.
This
One that was, they ran into the wall,
This
right?
was the car that they run into a wall. I've got some pictures of that out of the magazine.
The Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Really took a hit. I think it's in some of my videos too. I think they show it in one of my videos.
It's other videos.
That's where we see it on.
Yeah.
54 Land Cruiser. This car was run into a wall.
How's the compartment for the driver look?
The left and left of it.
There's a groundhog hole.
You think there'd be a dead man in there if it'd been in there?
See, the steering wheel was crushed. That's what they wanted to show how it was doing. But this was the one that had the new rotary locks that they come out with.
Oh, they want to see the doors popped open?
Right.
They did, didn't they?
No, they didn't. The doors stayed shut.
Well, they're open now.
Yeah, they are open now.
I'm going to shut down. I want to get a better shot. Smith.
The doors are open. A groundhog dug a hole in there, but there's, like I say, a tree come down. The tree come down not too long ago. It was not across this. And over here is a military truck.
With the
This is
windshield
the
that flips
old.
up. Look at that.
This is the old military cab that they used in the 40s. They used this from like 39 on up.
The windshield.
It's got a windshield
that went out.
comes up, big voltage regulator on it.
What are you supposed to bracket was for?
I don't. Oh, that's a mirror. It's got a big old mirror bracket on it.
They had one on this side.
Yeah.
too, didn't
What's this thing laying off to the front here?
Here's a cowl off of something.
they?
It's a cowl off of. We don't know what.
Come on, shut down.
More of the R series trucks. Another 53 Commander there. Or that's a coupe. I don't know what it was.
Just
Yeah.
pieces.
A 50 here, 51. 51 here, four-door. The quarters on it aren't that bad.
Nothing special you can notice.
Nothing special, just, you know, that car's got-
You know, there might be things about these cars we don't know, too.
Well, yeah, there is.
I mean, I'm sure they're...
These cars are all out here for a reason.
Right, they didn't bring them out just for the heck of it.
They were.
They were hidden or
Yeah,
they were
they
put
were
away
test
for a
cars.
reason. Okay, we're off.
This is a Model N hood that went to that car. That car is really
That was the
something.
good one.
That was the best car of the bunch. And it's been squashed. That was the hood that went to it. We put the fenders, the bumper, the fenders, and everything. Picked the doghouse up.
You were going to take this out and you
This
couldn't
is
get it
the car
out
we
that
was
day.
gonna take out, but we ran out of time.
Okay, let's swing to this truck, which it appears to be a 7-ton truck.
This was
The 7-ton truck is unbelievably small for a 7-ton.
one of their road trucks. This is
Yeah.
what they use. They use the same body
If you
for
look
everything.
at the writing down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Declared gross
It's 14,000.
weight, 14,000 pounds.
That's a lot of weight for a little truck that size.
Well, that's what they put that on a big truck frame, and it had also, but they just used the same body.
Oh, okay, these are small body and a big
Yeah,
frame.
they used the pickup body used on big trucks.
Here.
Okay, we're going to be
See,
off.
the sun's coming out. All right, this is a 53 or 54. Evidently, some more working on the windshield, or they got a post welded to the door like this, trying to figure out a windshield support. But
Didn't work.
didn't work. I think that's why it's out here. Don't know what it is. There's nothing.
Okay, there's one next to it. What do we got there? That's that oldest one out.
This
That's
is a 42. No, this is not the oldest one out here. There's an older one than this out here. This is a 42. This is one they use for test purposes. If you look, the top has been sectioned on it. So I think this is two different cars put into one.
The other Model N sitting over there.
Okay. Okay, you're off.
Yeah, okay. All right, this was the oldest car here. 38 or 39. The serial number on this is the 9AF3. I'm not sure right now what it is. I can't remember. A tree come down here sometime 1986 and ruined that car. It was not really that great, but there was really not that much left of it. The tree gives it the final.
The same tree went on down and, yeah, same tree went on down and got the Model N, right?
All right, this is what's left. This was another one of the Model N four-doors. Tree come down in 1986 on this, and this was a real good car too. This was
Can you get that door where I can see that Z?
get some real heavy brush.
Maybe you can't clear it out.
This is really a shame about this. It doesn't have that. That's tree did that.
I'm gonna swing by and look at the rest of the stuff here. You can just see them kind of lined up. So that Model N, it's shot too. There's no way to save the doors. Are those doors any good on that?
No, there's nothing left on that car. Doors are squashed.
So there's really only one Model N that has anything at all hardly to it, and it's pretty well shot.
Yeah.
Okay, we're off.
It could have been a 38. 39's been a couple different colors. It's got maroon on it. It's got beige on it. Champagne gold. Champagne gold.
Why do you think so many colors?
I don't know.
Okay, we're...
Good picture of the side. Roll up back windows. What a beautiful car at one time. Nothing special about it though.
Okay.
Body is upside down and backwards. Kind of crazy. Yeah, oh, it's rough. There's the doghouse to it. At one time, probably when we're saving. That's good fenders on it. Big fenders. Over here is a 41. Champ. Nothing like the bit. Two-door sedan.
Back on.
Could be anywhere from 41 to 46. Just have the vent on the side. It's got some strange looking brackets down here in the front for mounting onto something. I don't know what it was.
It could have been a front end check or something, you know, new front end.
These cars could have been anything.
Yeah.
It was black at one time. All right, this is a 42 front end. Upside down. I took some chrome strips off this one time. I had little chrome strips on the side. And I had the hood to this car in my house one time.
Yeah, it came out with the Woody, didn't it?
Yeah. You know, they did have 42 Woody at one time.
A 42, where'd he go?
I don't know, American Red Cross had it.
It was out here?
No, it was never out here. American Red Cross had it. I found it in a magazine. 42 Woody built one of them. All right, in fact, there's a military truck. That's the old M series. There's one right there, an old M series. You got the fold-out windshield, and there's something else different on it. I don't remember what it is. There's an old military hood, the old straight-nose, chopped-off hood right there.
There was a truck out here that had
What's left
the
of it?
wheel wells were cut in the doors.
Yeah, the one that had the wheel wells cut in the
Wheel
doors.
wells were in the doors.
That was that snub nose that Hurwich Iron took out of here.
Oh, what'd they take it out for?
Bendix was going to do something with it, and they got it in the garage there, and
Was it too bad or
no more.
just disappeared, huh?
Yeah, that's a mystery, I think.
All right, this is a 50 Land Cruiser. Many times as I've been out here, I've never seen that. This is 3 or 4 different colors, green, everything. But it is a Land Cruiser. See the quarter window there? All right, this is the only car out here. It's got to be up to 47 to 49. It's still got the frame under it. The only car out here with a frame under it.
Suicide doors.
Yeah, they all have suicide my doors. That's a still works. Here's a doghouse off of doghouse off of 51. Looks like somebody cut part of the fender off with an air chisel. There's the doghouse for the car with the
Stainless steel glove box.
yeah. Well, on the Commander. Yeah, they had a stainless steel glove box.
Is that normal?
Yeah, on the Commander. Did that come off that car there, Mike? Yeah. That's a 50 Commander then.
Stainless steel glove box.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of cars back in the woods there, and it's just
Yeah, these cars back here are just
they're nothing special, is there?
48, 47, 48. They're just nothing special other than their hair.
On the sand car again. Yeah.
Beautiful sand car.
Okay. Right next to it is a 53.
No, it's a 55.
It's 55.
That is the newest car that's out here.
It was on barrels, but it fell.
Yeah. That was put on barrels probably sometime in the 70s.
And then there's a truck chassis there.
All right, that truck, that military truck, after, right around the Korean War area, they went to building the commercial styled military truck where Ford made them, General Motors made them, Studebaker made them, there were a whole bunch of people that made them. They had Hercules engines in them. They were gas.
Well, generic, almost generic.
Multi-fuel engines in there. They run kerosene, diesel fuel, gasoline, and a lot of anything. 50. That makes 600. Awesome.
Too bad there wasn't anything identical to find out.
There's no other way to tell, is there?
Not that I know of.
Okay, we're off.
Commercial military truck. After in the Korea War era, they went to the commercial style where everybody was building the same kind of truck. They had,
Oh, really?
yeah, and it's been weatherproof. It's really
Still in pretty good shape, isn't
it's
it?
pretty good shape, really, except the door. These were built on the Chippewa plant.
It was a stick.
Yeah, they had these stick shifts on there. They were multi-purpose engines on them. They used Hercules engines or Diamond Rio engines, what it was, something like that. Looks like it's still got Studebaker door locks on it. But this was the old, after they, in the 40s, they was using the M series body for a military truck, and this was after
This is a new style.
the new style, yeah.
Okay, we're
You
off.
know, all kinds of strange things in it. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, this is the 54 wagon, Conestoga wagon, first year for the wagon. They made these, they built these out the Chippewa plant with the trucks on the truck line. This was not made on the regular assembly line in South Bend. Why this thing is sitting up in the air like this, I don't know. This has been moved. This was on the ground the last time I had seen it, but it had been moved. It was destroyed. The front end was cut off of it. Look to the left. How sad. Then we got more R-Series trucks. What's that, Mike? Oh, that's a hood for 49 or something like that.
There's just several of those same trucks over and over, right?
These are R-Series trucks. That's the hood for that. I think that's R-Series trucks.
Okay, we're on.
Alright, this has got a 2R number 17, 2R17. This was a big truck. A vacuum connection here, the vacuum line going up there, and it had vacuum brakes. It's a steel line going to the back. This was a big truck, 2R17. Not too sure what that it means. It's a big truck. Here's a truck fender that somebody did some welding on. Another bed back here. Good bed.
Okay,
Yeah.
53.
this one here. What year is this, Mike?
What?
This one I'm looking at. What?
The hood there?
No, the doghouse or the whole frame here.
Bad like me.
Had Hercules diesel wrote on the side of it. Nothing left of it now. The paint on it was good shape. Just sit there and.
So that made it a military hood.
No, not military. This was evidently they was going to use it in production for one of their heavier trucks.
Just need a marker. That's back half of a Model N. Model N, and the side of the Model N 5-passenger coupe that's got the extended back window on it. That window on that thing is about 8 inches longer than a standard coupe. We also found the front and the floor pan to that car, which was in good shape. Number 2. Nice building, man. All right, number 2 is the side view of the 2-door Model N, which had heavy cowl damage. That was damaged when it was brought out here, I believe. The door is missing on the other side. It's too bad because this car was in surprisingly good shape. This is the one that's got the fenders that are molded into the body. They're not molded-on fenders. Model N number the fenders and everything, the bumpers and everything to complete this car. We was going to take this car out of here and have it ready for the 83 national meet, but we never got to it. We ran out of time, and then something happened sometime afterwards. They destroyed this car. This car was intentionally crushed, and I can't believe it. Also sitting next to it's a 41 or 42 doghouse. Sand car is number 4. That sand car, that is, I think that is a 50. It had 6-cylinder accelerator linkage on it. It made a 50 commander. It's got a one-piece back window, which makes it strange. You got the fender wheels cut out. Now, in 1980, to get the woody out, which was sitting behind it, we put timbers under it, pieces of wood, and 8 of us tipped that car on its side. When we tipped it on its side, it was really strange because the headliner was still in one piece on it. And that car there is worth taking out. Although the floor pan is bad, it could be patched up. You got to be real careful with getting it out, though. This number to the sand car. We got a one-piece back window in it. Off to the side is a 55. You can see that. That's the newest car that's there. Number. This car here, 55 coupe, is a V8. No, excuse me, that was a 6-cylinder with overdrive. That car was put up in barrels by another group back in the 60s. It fell down off the barrels. Nothing special about it other than the newest car here. A 55 that was sitting on barrels. It's just kind of a panoramic view of what's sitting around there in its area. It's the right side view of the 55. It was sitting. There's also a side view of the 55 that was sitting on barrels. It's just kind of a panoramic view of what's sitting around there in its area. It's the right side view of the 55. It was sitting on barrels. Also in the background, you see one of the Model N's just sitting there. Just kind of the front 3/4 view on it. Was a prototype car. It looks like it was hand built. This car was put together with countersunk sheet metal screws. The whole top is made out of 3 different pieces, and the fenders are all look like it's all handmade. It's a very unusual car. That's number 9 and number 10. Cars that was taken in 1954. This was to demonstrate their what? This was used to demonstrate the new rotary door locks they come out with that year. The cowl was really torn up bad on that car. is just a 53 coupe. Nothing special about it other than it's here. Special about it other than it's here. Number 14 is just 3 or 4 older bodies sitting around, nothing special about them. Bodies, 2 military bodies, 1 R series, and then a chopped up 47 or 48 there. That's regular, nothing special about them. '16 is a 40, could be a 41, or I think it might possibly a 42 sedan. It's got some strange looking angle iron brackets on the cowl. I don't know what it was for though, but this is a beautiful car in its day. With factory air conditioning on it, big hole in the firewall, scoops on the back, and a strange 2-piece back window. So, here is the left side view of the Model N Starlight Coupe. This had a peculiar trunk lid on it. Something was different. The back window is about 8 inches longer than the other one. It was had heavy damage when it was shoved out here, I believe. That was number 18. This is number 19. This is the 41, or no, this has been a 41 or 42 Commander Coupe, had 1-piece windshield. This was the car that they had towed around the track. They used this for towing. Other cars towed it on the test track. Looks like it had been 3 different colors. The top had been replaced on it a couple times. The doghouse is laying around somewhere. I don't know where that's at. 18.
You know, I screwed up, Mike. Let's see if I can get these boxes.
20 is another view of the Commander Coupe that was used for towing. A couple 53 dog houses that we stood up on end several years ago to keep them rusting out, but pretty far gone now. A couple, what number is this?
21, 22.
21 and 22, excuse me. A couple pictures of the sand car as it is today. Sitting down there. Surprisingly, the doors and the quarter panel, the fenders are all in real good shape. Doesn't have a windshield in it, but
Back windows.
back window is in it. It's got a 1-piece back window, which is kind of crazy. It would be like a 51, but it, I don't know. Is old military M-series truck with a slide-out windshield. The windshield's are cranked out, and a tree laying across the top of 53. And 20. You can just barely see it down in the left-hand corner below the ridge on the firewall. It says U.S. on it. This is an old military truck firewall. Number 25 is the back of a N series. Off to the right of that's a 55, the newest car out here, and then there's the cab of late model military. I say late model in the Korean War era military cab. There's no roof on or anything, but it's surprisingly good shape. All right, 26 is a I would say 38 or 39 Commander. This was the oldest car out here. The tree fell across sometime 1986, I believe. In 1980, the tree was not on it, but the car was in bad shape. Really surprisingly, how good the stainless trim is across the side. It's remarkably good shape.
Okay.
Yeah, 26 and 27. Is the rear view of the Commander coupe. Bullet holes in the window. There we are. 30?
29.
Or 29? 29 is trees laid across the 53 and a military truck cab. All right, 30 is the front view of a 53, possibly 54 coupe where they had tried to put a wraparound windshield on it. Kind of a primitive way of doing it. All right, 31 is the side view of the 38 or 39 Commander two-door sedan that a tree fell across, right down the center of it. View of some truck beds. Big, heavy 2R17, which means it's a big, heavy truck. It had vacuum brakes on it, vacuum lines hanging down on it. It was a big truck. These trucks all have engineering department codes on the window. All right, 33 was a real good shape 2R pickup truck. That's back from in the 50s. A real clean, nice dashboard on it, but a tree fell across top it. Pickup bed upside down off a 2R pickup, probably 2R5 I think, and then some pickup bodies in the background. And 35 is our group going through the pictures, trying to catalog these. 36 is there's a 51 front end, there's a Model N in the background.
There's that same bed again.
30, remember this, 37 is a 2R pickup bed in back. You got some other bodies sitting around. 3 sedan doghouse, which when we found this was in real good shape. This doghouse should have been taken out, but we didn't have time or we getting out of here. It was real good shape. Time or we getting out of here. It was real good shape. There's a 50 in the background. There's a 54 Conestoga that's just sitting up on its nose. How that got sitting up like that, I don't know, but that was a real neat car. That Conestoga, that was built in '54. They were building those at the truck plant out at Chippewa. They had a separate assembly line for those. For 39, that's one of the M series under the tree, isn't it, Mike? Is that an M series? Yeah. That's one of the M series underneath the tree. A tree fell down on top of that car and really put an end to it. 47. Nothing particular about it other than it's out here. Its final resting place.
This is the only Studebaker prototype ever put into a movie. It was put into the movie Destiny, and it's a production by Studebaker about the car, which were 5 produced. One remaining is in South Bend. This is the actual picture of the prototype, the first one, and probably the one in the proving ground. It was available on tape number 6 and number 4 about this car. It's about 15 to 20 minutes long. This car and also a truck, which you'll see later, were tested on the Dune State Park in the movie. This is a picture of it in the snow. Here's a picture of the car as it appears today in the Studebaker Graveyard. The back fenders are the telltale sign of this car. I thought originally it was a tire tester, but it is the actual sand car. This is the end car. This picture was shot at the Bendix Proving Grounds in 1952. This was a prototype car that they were working on at that time. The car was given considerable consideration about being the 100th anniversary car. It lost out to the Lowry Coupe, but they were 5 made. It was distinctive by the Z or N on the door. Some similarities to the Kaisers and also the Tuckers of the day. It is not a bad looking car, even as you look at them today. This is a partial in the graveyard. The front cowl missing. As Mike said earlier, it was damaged even when it was brought out. The trunk lids had a flat spot on them. It's some similarity to the Hawks of the later 60s, where they flattened the trunk lid out. This was never done until then, though, in production. This is a view of the door. It's very hard to see because of the weeds and stuff, but this is an indoor with a distinctive N or Z on the side. And as it appeared in 1980, Mike discussed them taking it out and didn't have time. The next picture will show what's happened to it since then. As you can see, it's in pretty good shape at this point. It's all there, bumpers and everything. It appears today, and this could not have been accidental. It's a shame because this car was unique and very historical, and now there is no chance of saving it. To the end. This is an end cowl that's come off the car. Many of the cars were brought out here in pieces, it appears. There's very few frames. There's only one frame, I believe, on any of the cars. A shot of the cowl from the other side. Now this car is unique in the fact that it's not like any other Studebaker. It was completely different. And they put a lot of money and time into this car and to not use it. It wasn't like Studebaker to do this. More shots of the M car. Like with the N car that they could have saved, but now it's far too gone. Final shot of the last end car in the graveyard. Pictures of the crash car. The reason why we called it this was the car the Studebaker checked by running into a brick wall. It's in some of the videos, and you'll see it, and it's in pretty bad shape. If you look inside the car, the steering wheel is shoved right through the floorboard. The doors are smashed. This was probably about a 50-mile-an-hour crash. Additional shot of the front cow. They must have destroyed the doghouse. Literally, there wasn't much left of it. Firewall, it took some damage, and amazingly, it's not that bad considering at the speed and intensity this crash occurred. Additional pictures of the firewall. There's a dent there, but considering the impact that it took, it's not bad. Pictures are of the wraparound windshield car, and they were experimenting with this as early as the early 50s. They never quite got it into the coupe, but they were trying, as you can see in these pictures, different attempts. And they had used sheet metal to create some kind of a setup for this windshield. Zoom in a little bit. View of the wraparound, that you can see the brackets as I zoom in. Their angle, the same thing. Left here you see the wraparound style, experimental. It's either going to be a wraparound or a three-piece. You can tell about the bracketing, but of course very crude. Pictures are of a Starlight coupe with two unusual features. They were experimental and never put out. The feature here is the extra long wraparound window. It's 8 to 10 inches longer than a standard Starlight. Cleaning out the extended window and where the original window should have ended, and why this is unique. Yeah, fenders have been leaded in on this car, and they never used that feature, but it was something they were trying, I suppose, to get a smoother line. It's the only car out there that's like this, other than a couple of the tops have been leaded in on some of the cars. Angles of the same car. And the final shot of the car. Well, we're labeling this car the rivet car. It's really more like the screw car because it's got many screws and connectors holding it together, pieces of the car. It's been pieced together and riveted, and it has collapsed, as you can see. No, there's no tree or anything that's hit it. It's just finally rotted through. Another angle at the top. To the fender, you can really see the holes quite well. Another piece of the car. Not quite as good a view as the connectors, but I'll zoom down. Top edge of the car, and you can see the connectors. the car, and you can see where they had air conditioner vents and they've sealed them off. At least one other car out there has these vents that are still on it. They were never put into production. The cars coming up now are the lead car, or the car that has the leaded fenders. We've got additional shots of them. It's the only one that really they did a lot of lead work on. See the smooth fender lines on this. This is one we showed you earlier. From the rear view. An additional view. Interior shot of the car. Three pictures will be involving a split window and the air conditioning vents on one car. Usual split rear window on this 53. Has several other unusual features. This is one of the other unusual features. This is a stainless steel tail light. It looks beautiful even today. And there's only one left, but it's just like brand new condition. They obviously didn't use these. Other unusual feature is the air conditioner duct that's hanging out here. And they didn't use this feature, although they toyed with it on several of the cars. Few pictures are on trucks, and there's many trucks out in the graveyard. This truck here is the truck to match the desert car, which is gone. No one knows where it is. But this is a picture of it in the dunes too. Military hood, a World War II military hood, and surprisingly these things are still very solid. I think they're made a lot heavier. You can see a frame, and it's pretty solid yet. Probably off one of the military trucks. An interior of a R-Series truck. Body of the same truck. An M-Series military truck. The 42 cal are a series, a bunch of trucks. As you can see, they sit in kind of groups. Another interior shot. And the final shot of the trucks. Studebaker wasn't any different than anybody else. They had their dream cars and their hopes. And the Packard Predictor was obviously one of the best that Packard ever came up with. Here's the artist rendition of it. It appeared at the 1956 Chicago Auto Show. This car is set behind one of the buildings in Studebaker for over 15 years, covered with a tarp. It's been completely restored and now is in the museum. Station wagons in the Studebaker Graveyard that disappeared. One was removed in 1980 by Max Conklin and taken to Pennsylvania, but understand that it was basically destroyed on the way back. This is a picture before it left South Bend. Appeared when new. It had a plastic top on top of a sedan body to make it a station wagon. There's only one made. Woody, and it was made out of fiberglass and metal. And the metal was deteriorated to the point that on the way back it disintegrated. car that was sitting behind the sandcar in the 1980 picture. Before we left South Bend, it appeared it was starting to come apart, so they tried to shore it up, but it was not going to happen. Shots of them taking it out. This is the only car they got out in 1980, and they really wanted the end car and maybe one other, but they didn't have time. They were only given one day to do this. And back view of the car as it was shored up. It's done at Mike Leno's house. They thought they might be able to save it. It's not an original photograph. Most of our photographs are original, thanks to Mike Leno and Jack Bressler. But this is out of a magazine, and this was also a picture of the car before it was removed. Studebaker was removed in 1969 and is rumored to still exist. Died in Casapole, Michigan up last year. Now it has kind of disappeared. We wonder if anybody knows the whereabouts of this car. Just additional pictures taken at 93 different cars. This is the one that was towed around. Probably has more miles than any Studebaker ever made. And you can see where the roof's been patched, extended. It's unusual. They were trying to do something. Now the object was to take as many pictures as possible when we were out there, because we felt it might never happen again. And so you're seeing many shots of things over and over, but at least they've been saved. As we finish up with these pictures, you have seen every car, every truck at the Studebaker Graveyard that's still there, plus the ones that we know of that are gone. This is a side view of the end car again. Knows what they were trying to do here. It could have been a station wagon, a truck. It's hard to tell. Well, that's the end of the Studebaker Graveyard. You've seen all the pictures, and you've basically been there. There's been very few people to visit this place, and I assume there will be less. It appears that they're getting ready to take most of it out. And maybe we've shown you what you would never had a chance to see. We hope so. Leno and his sister, and this picture was taken in the back of J.M. Studebaker's backyard for the 150th anniversary edition of the Spotlight magazine. As you can see there by a Studebaker wagon. He said it was very cold that day. We want to thank him so much for helping us with this. We could have not produced this without him, and he is a true Studebaker person.
fascinating story of how Studebaker prepared to solve the problem of desert transportation began many months ago in South Bend, Indiana, the home of century-old Studebaker. Here, Studebaker undertook an exhaustive research program, sweated through a maze of production details, readied its assembly lines with special techniques and installations in order to mass-produce punishment-proof motor cars and trucks to meet the desert on its own terms. And Studebaker succeeded. Here in the Studebaker Administration Building, the original planning of the new sand vehicles was started. Here, specialists in desert automotive needs outlined to engineering executives the transportation problems that you of the sandlands must face. And in the typical Studebaker spirit of team play, they immediately set to work to translate ideas and drawing board dreams into the hard realities of the production line. Contributing much to this detailed planning were Stanwood W. Sparrow, Studebaker's brilliant vice president in charge of engineering and president of the Society of Automotive Engineers, S.A. Jeffries, Studebaker's executive truck engineer and one of the best minds of the truck industry, and R.A. Hutchinson, president of the Studebaker Export Corporation. Studebaker rolls up its sleeves and goes to work on the Desert Explorers. There's hustle, bustle, feverish activity as each man eagerly takes on his part of the assignment. The Studebaker Engineering Division begins to blueprint every detail of the ideas that only a few short days ago were mere talk. Draftsmen, designers, body and engine specialists pool their knowledge, trade their skill and experience, contribute precious hours of precious days. Out in the factories, hundreds of new faces begin to appear on the team. Production engineers chart manufacturing procedures. Material control experts corral steel, copper, nuts, bolts, wheels, and gears. The pace quickens, and then out of this jungle of sound, the shrill staccato music of progress roars to a booming crescendo. The first pilot models are ready. Here is Mr. Hutchinson to tell us about these new sand-type vehicles.
It is with a feeling of real pride that we of the Studebaker Export Corporation introduce to you who must cope with the desert these special sand-type Studebaker vehicles. From the moment we saw your need to the time that our crated vehicle was ready to be set down at wharfside, we put all our energies and all our resources squarely behind your desert transportation problem. And we're confident that you'll find Studebaker's Desert Explorers properly designed, skillfully engineered, carefully constructed, easily serviced. We think you'll agree that for protection, for power, for punch, you of the Sandlands will be mighty hard to beat with a Studebaker fleet.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hutchinson. Mighty hard to beat is this rugged, carefully engineered, well-constructed Studebaker Desert Explorer. And now let's take a look at the passenger car pilot model as it takes a turntable bow. Since these engineering models were virtually hand-built many, many months ago, you'll readily identify their 1949 styling and appearance. And here's the pilot model of the half-ton pickup truck, equipped with a heavy-duty 100-horsepower truck power plant, delivering 200 pounds-feet of torque. The pilot models finally emerge, ready for action. They're off to the proving ground and their baptism of fire. But wait, the job isn't done. Not yet. Here comes the acid test. No car or truck can carry the Studebaker nameplate until it meets the exacting standards of Studebaker's multi-million-dollar outdoor laboratory, perhaps the world's finest automotive proving ground. Now comes the shakedown cruise. Watch closely as this veteran test pilot hooks up his recording accelerometer and prepares to check engine performance. He'll chart acceleration, performance in all gears, fuel economy, and he'll note action on grades and turns. Stock models, picked at random from the assembly lines, take a never-ending beating. They're water babies, too. Get a thorough soaking as they plunge headlong and forward through the water bath run. Can the car bite into dust and keep coming back for more? Yes, sir. Can they climb steep hills? You bet. Note how confidently they take the 30% grade. And now the Studebaker Desert Explorers start their toughest tests on the rugged surfaces and deep treacherous ripples of the proving ground. These sand-based fields were plowed into a powdery pulp to simulate desert conditions. Experts in desert operations pounded these cars just as relentlessly as they would in the land of Wajid Mafi. They tried to break it down. They couldn't. They hunted out mechanical failure. It just wasn't there. Here's the Studebaker half-ton truck doing its stuff over the same rugged and rippled area at the proving ground. Watch it tear into its work. Note how successfully it challenges the toughest terrain. See how surely, how confidently it floats over the deep ripples, keeps its footing, forges on ahead. And it's worth remembering that throughout these tests, this truck exceeded its maximum authorized gross vehicle weight. They passed the first test with colors flying. Now on to more. The Desert Explorers now move to the shores of Lake Michigan for further testing. Starting at the far end of a long sandy beach, the Commander passenger car roars down the sandy waste, deftly makes the turn, and with wheels churning ever forward, it cruises sure-footedly over the sand-strewn hills. Even the desert has few conditions worse than this. The fluffy, loosely packed sand resists the wheels strongly, makes the most powerful engine look to its laurels. Sand is sand everywhere, and a tough customer to face, whether on the Arabian Desert or Africa's Sahara. You'll be interested to know that Studebaker is making available for desert operations pickup trucks and every model in its Commander passenger car line. All these units are so designed and built that maximum interchangeability prevails. The truck follows in the car's wake, threading its steady way through the stubborn sand, climbing sand-strewn hills with comparative ease. The entire power plant of the Desert Explorers, engine, clutch, fan, transmission, electrical equipment, carburetor, is 100% interchangeable. Brakes, wheels, tires, hubs and brake drums, bearings, brake cylinders, and propeller shaft joints are identically the same. And here's an extra feature in Studebaker's new Desert Explorers. Even with the big oversized tires, there's no wheel fight on sandy trails or on conventional roads. If you're driving the desert today and a conventional road tomorrow, you simply correct your tire pressure to suit conditions. Many of us erroneously think that all deserts are invariably hot. Well, hot deserts have their cold spells too. And actually, there are cold deserts, a couple of million square miles of them. So, in the dead of winter, Studebaker took its Desert Explorers to the snow-carpeted sand of the Great Lakes dune country. Here they proved conclusively that in all kinds of conditions, in high temperatures or low, they've got what it takes to climb the toughest grade, the highest hill. Oops! These intrepid Desert Explorers keep on pounding their way through. There's plenty of snow in the air and plenty of work on the schedule for the pickup truck. But to this sturdy, husky engine, it's all part of a day's work. Why do these vehicles stand up under all types of conditions? Here's why. Flanged fenders to protect the body. 900 by 13 tires for sure-footedness, traction, and soft riding. An expertly designed power plant that will run cool and relaxed, no matter how high the mercury rises. A 5-blade, specially pitched fan and a 7-pound pressure cap augment the oversized cooling system. An extra heavy-duty radiator, 4 inches thick, adds further to cooling efficiency. Now for the truck power plant. It's much bigger, more powerful than you'd expect to find in this type of vehicle. A big air cleaner to screen out desert dust. Oversized radiator, 5-blade fan, efficient Fram oil filter. A surge tank to go with the big radiator. An easily accessible 19-plate battery. Hefty front springs absorb plenty of jounce and jolt. Double-acting front shock absorbers take the sting out of washboard terrain. Heavy-duty single-stage rear springs work in conjunction with double-acting shock absorbers. Yes, it's springing like this that's the answer to a truck driver's dream. On concrete highways, on camel trails, or on wind-blown desert roadways. Up and down, but oh, how smooth and level and easygoing. It's no wonder that truck drivers last all day on springing like this. Say, speaking of deep-bedded comfort, the passenger car deserves a full spotlight, too. Note the easy, level action of the body as the car glides ship-like over the rutted sand terrain. The springs and shocks do all the work. The driver, why, he just takes it easy. Nice front end, you say, but how about the rear? Well, let's take a look. The shocks and the springs are still doing their stuff. Hit a rock, hit a hummock, hit a soft spot in the sand. The level ride goes on and on. But oh, how smooth. And now you've seen how well these cars and trucks perform under conditions that only men of the desert can fully appreciate. You've seen at first hand the cars and trucks, the specially designed and engineered desert explorers that meet the urgent need for desert-worthy vehicles. Every riding, handling, and comfort feature built into the Desert Explorers was put there for one purpose only, to help you of the Sandlands meet successfully the unique conditions that only you experience. The new 1950 Desert Explorer has all the unique features you've just seen in the pilot models. Engine, chassis, and mechanical advancements that fit it for hard desert duty. What's more, it has the distinctive appearance that will set the pattern for every car with truly advanced styling. And this daringly designed new model is the boldest step yet in fashioning automobiles for smarter looks and safer, more relaxed driving. From the air intake scoop to the flight-screened rear fenders, the low-swung new Studebaker is a symphony of power and beauty in every sweeping line, a marvel of riding and handling ease. Desert operators can drive the car of tomorrow today in this 1950 Desert Explorer, for here is the car that heralds the coming new age in motoring.
Photograph of Studebaker's main manufacturing facility in South Bend, Indiana, as it appeared in 1952. It covered over 125 acres. The oldest buildings on the site were built to manufacture horse-drawn vehicles. The site eventually evolved into the manufacturing facility where most Studebaker cars and trucks were built. Assembly operations ended in December of 1963, but much of the plant continued to operate well into 1964, producing spare parts and production components for the Canadian assembly operation. During the first portion of this film, we will see how the buildings look today, almost 25 years after production ended. We will discuss the year of construction, size, original use, and how each building was being used when production ended. Later, we will examine other Studebaker-related sites around the South Bend area. First, however, we will see an excerpt from the 1953 Studebaker dealer promotional film, Beyond a Promise, taking us on a tour of the Studebaker manufacturing operations.
Well, that day I really learned something, because we started right at the beginning, and at Studebaker, that means the foundry. The glow of the white-hot furnaces and the showering of sparks accompanies the processing of the basic raw material that goes into the making of an automobile. It's a vivid picture of America's great automobile industry with its sleeves rolled up. After being alloyed and purified, the molten metal is filled into giant containers called bull ladles and taken by overhead rail cars to the pouring floors. Here it is carefully poured into flasks containing intricate sand molds and cores to produce the castings from which some of the thousands of parts used in a modern automobile are made. When the metal is cooled, molds and cores are broken away, and the castings go into automatic shaking devices. Then they are chipped, ground, and sandblasted. Every trace of excess metal and molding sand is carefully removed by experienced workmen. Finally, after complete inspection and thorough testing, the castings are ready for the machine shop. The rough cylinder castings are loaded into a continuous line of automatic transfer machines. 900 feet away, they come out completely and accurately machined, ready for assembly. Talk about American skill and ingenuity. Here's an engineer's dream come true. Fantastically intricate machines, some costing $250,000. Automatically turn, position, bore, drill, ream, and clean the castings. Then they are quickly transferred to the next operation. Sometimes it's hard to believe your eyes. One machine 325 feet long, the only one of its kind in the industry, automatically performs 48 completely different and highly complex operations, maintaining tolerances of 1/2 of 1/1000th of an inch. 2 cylinder heads are fed through and machined simultaneously by electrical control. All along the line, skilled operators keep watchful eyes on the automatic control panels, which guide the progress of the block through the intricate machine. In other parts of the machine shop, a series of sub-assembly lines are at work grinding crankshafts, connecting rods, pistons, and other engine components. At every step of the way, there is absolute insistence on extreme accuracy, and every machine part is subjected to a series of rigorous tests and inspections. Before a crankshaft can pass inspection, it must balance out to 1/8 ounce per inch, less than the weight of a thin dime. The finished parts are placed on overhead conveyors and fed to the engine assembly department. The blocks are put on traveling stands for initial assembly. They are turned on end for installation of connecting rods, pistons, camshafts, valves, and other internal parts. Finally, the engines are turned right side up as starters, carburetors, automatic chokes, and hundreds of other essential parts are added. The finished engines are placed on testing devices and under their own power, started and run for final adjustments. Meanwhile, in a separate group of buildings, work is in progress on the Studebaker body. Giant 750-ton hydraulic presses stamp steel sheets into fenders, hoods, and gas tanks. They automatically trim each section of what is later to become an automobile into the exact size called for in the specifications. The individual body stampings begin to look more like passenger cars when they are assembled in an intricate series of special jigs and fixtures, which hold them firmly in place while they're being welded together. The process of spot welding has come to play an important part in the making of today's automobiles. When the spot welding is completed, the new body is welded still more. All points of stress are given extra reinforcement by acetylene and electric welding. The skeleton body is placed on the metal finishing line to be sanded, cleaned, and made ready for painting. In the next step, the bodies are sent to the paint rooms, where heavy enamels are applied by expert workmen. After slowly passing through infrared drying ovens, they continue their journey down the production line. Gradually, roofing, upholstery, carpeting, weather stripping, and windshields are installed. Instrument panels are put into place. Then the door panels are added. Finally, all the familiar trim appointments of the Studebaker interior are installed, and the finished bodies are sent to the final assembly line. American know-how, which introduced and perfected the modern assembly line, now puts on a spectacular display as dozens of separate conveyor lines bring together the component parts, each in its proper sequence. A specific engine with the proper transmission is delivered to the line and installed on a particular chassis. Right on schedule, the specified body of the right style and color is carefully lowered into position where it meets the chassis and engine for which it was planned. Radiators, fenders, grills, all move into their proper place like clockwork. Gasoline and water are added, until at the end of the line, a gleaming new automobile is started up and driven away under its own power. One every 45 seconds. That's doing things in a big way.
The South Bend facility is actually 2 plants. Plant 1 is bordered by Sample Street, Prairie Avenue, Main Street, and the New York Central tracks. The first building on this site stood where Building 113 stands today. It was built about 1870 when they outgrew their original site in downtown South Bend at the corner of Michigan and Jefferson Streets. Plant 2 is everything south of Sample Street and was originally built for the production of the Light 6. The buildings were consecutively numbered as they were built except for additions such as 47 and 47A. Therefore, the oldest buildings on the site are buildings 30 and 30A. They are located on Lafayette Street between the New York Central tracks and Sample Street. These are buildings 30 and 30A. Building 30, built in 1878, is a one-story brick building with 1,450 square feet of floor space. Just right of 30 is Building 30A. In addition, built in 1890, it is also a one-story brick building covering 1,277 square feet. The original use of these buildings is unknown. They were used for many years to house the plant protection and fire departments. This is building number 35. And attached to its east side is building number 34. And to its east side is building number 33. They are located just west of Lafayette Street, south of building 30 and 30A. These buildings stand together and were built in 1890. Each is a 4-story, brick-walled, wood-frame structure. Together, they total about 236,000 square feet of floor space. These buildings were originally part of the wagon manufacturing complex and were at one time used for foreign shipping and car storage. They were being used to manufacture miscellaneous subassemblies for the body plant when production ended. Until October of 1987, they were the home of the Avanti Motor Corporation. On the east side of Lafayette Street, across from 30 and 30A, you find buildings 47A, building 47, building 48, and building 48A. '47 and 48 were built in 1893 and 1897. They are 4 stories tall and are brick-walled with wood frame construction. 47 contains 80,000 square feet of floor space. 48 contains 84,000 square feet of floor space. These two buildings were originally used to manufacture saddle and harness. In 1922, additions 47A, 106,000 square feet of floor space, and 47A, 257,000 square feet of floor space were added. These are concrete, reinforced concrete, and brick buildings. This complex has been used for many purposes over the years and were the home of the truck, convertible, and Avanti final assembly operations when production ended. These buildings, located at 405 West Sample Street, are Building 53, and to the left, Building 58. 53, a 5-story, brick-walled, wood-framed building with 133,000 square feet of floor space, was built in 1905. Number 58, also a 5-story, brick-walled, wood-framed building containing 131,000 square feet of floor space, was built in 1906. These structures were also part of the wagon manufacturing facility. One source lists these buildings as the manufacturing site of early Studebaker gas and electric-powered automobiles. These buildings housed the salvage departments when production ended. Today, they are the home of the Newman and Altman Studebaker Parts Division. Building 62, built in 1908, was the main administration building. Standing at the corner of Main and Bronson Streets, it is a 4-story brick and steel frame building with 149,000 square feet of floor space. The 4th floor housed the executive offices, the 3rd floor the accounting department. The 2nd floor held the sales department, and the 1st floor held the lobby and the car ordering department. Today, it is the home of the South Bend School Administration offices. Building 69, found in the center of Plant 1, was built in 1913 with an addition in 1923. It is built of reinforced concrete and brick, and its 4 stories contain 162,000 square feet of floor space. It was originally used as a dry kiln for curing lumber. When production ended, floors 1 and 2 housed the body plant engineering and maintenance departments. Floors 3 and 4 were used for storage. This is building number 72, the first building built in the Plant 2 area. It stands on the southeast corner of Sample and Chapin Streets. It is a 1-story brick and steel frame building covering 391,000 square feet. It held the motor, machine, and assembly operations. During the early 1950s, they were producing 1,500 engines a day in this facility. The building was built in 1917 with additions in 1918, 1928. Building number 78, a 4-story reinforced concrete and steel framed building with 368,000 square feet of floor space, stands at the Franklin and Garth Street entrance to Plant 2. It was built in 1919 with additions in 1922 and 1926. The 1st floor housed the press room die shop and a storage area. The 2nd floor contained the frame assembly line and the plant engineering offices. 3rd floor housed the tool room, and the 4th floor housed the specialty parts manufacturing department and was also used for storage. This complex is a series of 4 buildings. This 2-block-long structure stands on Franklin Street between Broadway and Garst Streets at the southeast corner of Plant 2. Building 83 is the 1-story structure in front. Building 82 is the 4-story building directly behind 83. Then another 4-story building, number 79, is attached to 83. Behind 79 stands Building 80, a 1-story structure that is hidden from view. Building 83 was built in 1919 with an addition in 1923 and is of brick and steel frame construction. It covered 70,000 square feet and was used as the rail boxcar shipping depot for finished cars. Cars were loaded 5 to a boxcar on this dock. This building remained largely unused during the Lark era as cars were shipped in open-sided rail cars or by truck and trailer. Building 82, built of reinforced concrete in 1919 with an addition in 1923, is a 4-story structure that received the cars after final assembly. The 1st floor housed the dollop line where factory-installed accessories such as climatizers and radios were installed. The 2nd floor held stock for the final line. The 3rd floor was used for material storage. The 4th floor housed the color enamel department where hoods and front-end sheet metal assemblies were painted. Building 82, directly behind this, contained 316,000 square feet of floor space. Behind Building 82 is Building 79, the largest building in this group with 508,000 square feet of floor space. Built in 1919 with an addition in 1922 and 1926, this steel-framed, reinforced concrete structure was a beehive of activity. The east side, on the first floor, was the finished car repair shop. The second floor was the final assembly line. The third floor received bodies from the north side of Plant 1 for final assembly and housed the gas tank assembly area. The fourth floor housed the wheel, storage, and tire mounting departments. The west side of 79 on the first floor housed the small press room. The second floor was used for front fender fabrication. The third floor housed the hood fabrication division and the front end assembly departments. And the fourth floor was devoted to the black enamel department for the front end assemblies. Behind all of this was Building 80, a 113,000 square foot, one-story brick and steel frame building built in 1919 with an addition in 1922. This building housed the heavy press room. On the northernmost border of Studebaker, Maine, is the second largest building in the complex. This is building number 84, found at Lafayette Streets and the New York Central Railroad tracks. Built in 1923 of brick and reinforced concrete, it is a 6-story building with a basement. This building housed the body fabrication, painting, and trimming departments. Built to assemble Special 6 and Big 6 closed bodies at the rate of 75 per day, it was redesigned in 1928 to produce 60 units per hour. Final production rates were up to 80 units per hour. Metal stampings entered the first floor where they were fabricated into bodies. These bodies were then shipped to the third floor for metal finishing. They were then taken to the second floor for bonderizing, painting, and sanding. Then the prime bodies were taken to the fourth floor for painting, then to the fifth floor for the installation of glass, hardware, and metal trim. The sixth floor is where the interior was manufactured and installed. The bodies rode a single line against the north wall where trim was installed. The balance of the sixth floor was cut and sewed. As the trim was finished, it was installed into the bodies. Until 1953, the finished bodies were then loaded onto flatbed trailers, 3 per trailer, and trucked to Building 79 at the south end of the plant for final assembly. In 1953, the mile-long overhead conveyor system was completed at a cost of $400,000. The bodies were loaded onto the conveyor on the 6th floor and rode the conveyor line through buildings 58 and 53, over the engineering building, directly to final assembly. Imagine the savings in equipment costs and labor that this conveyor system allowed. At the southwest corner of Plant 2 on Prairie Avenue at Cotter Street is the largest single building in the Studebaker complex. This brick, steel-framed, and reinforced concrete building, number 85, housed the foundry. Built in 1923, it had 2 floors and a basement and contained 568,000 square feet of floor space. When completed, it was capable of pouring 400 tons of iron a day, and its state-of-the-art methods and machinery were the envy of the industry. The entire foundry was laid out for high efficiency, the raw material being fed into receiving bays at one end, processed progressively, and finally discharged in the form of finished castings at the opposite end of the building. The foundry also contained a core room where Studebaker made all of its own sand cores from processed sand. Looking through the rail yard gate on Kendall Street into the center of Plant 2, we see a 3-building complex. The building visible here is building number 86, built in 1926. This 137,000 square foot building, a 1-story brick and steel frame structure, housed the truck chassis assembly department and the spring shop. Directly behind this building Attached to it is Building 142, the steel receiving dock. At the southeast corner of this group is Building number 93. Built in 1928, this brick and steel-framed one-story building containing 37,000 square feet housed the screw machine department. At one time, Studebaker made all of its own nuts and bolts. In later years, it was used for small machine parts production. This is building number 92, the Product Design and Engineering Building. Located at the corner of Sample and Franklin Streets, it is a two-story reinforced concrete structure containing 183,000 square feet of floor space. Built in 1928, it housed the engine and chassis dynamometer rooms, engine assembly lab, and stock room on the first floor, while the second floor held the engineering offices, chassis and body drafting departments, and the prototype body fabrication shop. The center of this building held an enclosed outdoor courtyard where prototype bodies could be viewed in natural light. This is building number 95, built in 1928 of brick and reinforced concrete, and was attached to the northeast corner of the machine shop, building number 72. It's in the 400 block of West Sample Street. This 18,000 square foot building housed the Industrial Relations Department. If you were interested in employment at Studebaker, this is where you would apply. Directly east of this building is the Sample Street entrance to Plant 2. This is the gate that was featured on the National Evening News and in national publications showing employees leaving the plant on the last day of production, December 20th, 1963. Building number 96 is a one-story, 18,000 square foot building built of brick and steel framing in 1928. It is located at 1010 South Prairie Avenue. Its original function was as a drive-away or car shipping center, but was used as a transportation department maintenance garage for most of its life. Originally designed as a two-story building, it was decided after construction was started to omit the second floor. This is Building 108, located at 765 South Lafayette Street. Was built in 1942, is a steel frame brick-walled building attached to Building 33. It contains 25,000 square feet on one story and was used as the Avanti final inspection and doll-up area during the final years of Studebaker production. Until October 1987, it housed the offices of the Avanti Motor Corporation. This building, attached to the six-story body building on the north boundary of Plant 1, is Building 113. Located on Lafayette Street, just south of the New York Central tracks, it is a two-story reinforced concrete and brick building with 170,000 square feet of floor space. The first floor held the paint lab, while the second floor was used for body parts sub-assembly. Attached to this building is a 53,000 square foot receiving dock. These structures were built in 1946. This concludes our tour of the buildings that remain in the former Studebaker manufacturing complex. Several years ago, Building 74, the powerhouse, was torn down. This 62,000 square foot building was on the north side of Sample Street, just west of Building 53 and 58. This is the entrance to Erskine Manor, in the 3600 block of Miami Street in South Bend. This palatial estate, sitting on a large wooded tract on the south side of town, was built by Albert Russell Erskine. It was built while he was president of the Studebaker Corporation. During the next portion of this film, we will view several homes in the South Bend area that were either built by or were at one time occupied by former Studebaker executives or Studebaker family members. We will also see the J.M. Studebaker building in downtown South Bend and the monument that stands at the site of the original wagon factory. This drive leads into the Erskine residence. The Erskine family lived in the portion to the building at the left. Behind the circular drive in the center is a covered passageway connecting the main house with the garage and the servants' quarters, which are to the right. Albert Russell Erskine was born in Huntsville, Alabama in 1871. After several years with Yale and Town Manufacturing and the Underwood Typewriter Company, he joined Studebaker's accounting department in 1911. In 1915, when J.M.'s son-in-law, Frederick Fish, moved up to become chairman of the board, Erskine became the first non-family member to serve the corporation as president. He was only 44 years old at the time. Under his leadership, the corporation enjoyed its greatest period of expansion. Most of the buildings that we have just seen were built while Erskine was at the helm. Several employees that I have talked to have stated that Erskine was a very formal and cold type person. He demanded a high degree of formal respect from everyone that he worked with. He was Mr. Erskine to everyone. His home is very reflective of this type of personality. Both Studebaker Corporation and Erskine's personal fortunes waned as the Depression of the 30s deepened. He staked his fortune, as well as that of the corporations, on the belief that prosperity would return shortly. The corporation filed for bankruptcy in 1932, and on July the 1st, 1933, A.R. Erskine took his own life in this house. The family eventually sold the estate to an order of the Catholic Church that used the building and the grounds as St. Mary's Academy for Girls. During the late 1970s, much of the land, including this home, were sold to private developers. This house is once again used as a private residence. Many exclusive homes and condominiums now share these grounds. This house, also on South Bend's southeast side, stands on a large tract of land at Miami and Donmoyer Streets. This English Tudor-style home was for many years the residence of the Paul G. Hoffman family. Paul Hoffman, Studebaker's successful West Coast distributor, joined the corporation in 1925 as sales manager. He served in this capacity until 1933, when he was appointed president by the receivers. He continued to serve as president until 1949, when he left to join the Truman administration as head of the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe. He returned to the board of directors for a short time during the 1950s, but was not successful in helping them turn things around. This home is also very reflective of his personality. It appears warm and friendly and tends to put visitors at ease. Today, it serves as the home of the Stanley Clark School, a private prep school. This building is not the home of a former Studebaker president, but is in fact the Erskine Park Golf Course. Located at 4200 Miami Street, its clubhouse, groundskeepers buildings, and 18-hole golf course were a gift to the city of South Bend from Mr. and Mrs. Albert Russell Erskine. Given in 1922, it continues to serve as a municipal golf course today. This is the original field stone entrance gate, which still carry the initials EP for Erskine Park, as well as the original dedication plaque. This house, located at 1237 East Jefferson Boulevard, was built in 1920 on the site of the original Jacob Studebaker home. It was first owned by Cyrus C. Schaefer. Its second owner was Harold Vance. Vance was appointed chairman of the board of Studebaker in 1933 by the receivers and held that post until 1954. He also held the post of president from 1949 to 1954. In the same area of South Bend's east side, at 107 South Green Lawn, is the home of Clement Studebaker, Jr. This home was built in 1909. In the 1920s, the estate was purchased by Vincent Bendix, founder of the Bendix Corporation, which was also headquartered in South Bend. Today, it serves as the home of Trinity School. On South Bend's west side, you find the homes of two of the original Studebaker brothers. This house, at 627 West Washington, was the home of Peter Studebaker. Peter, the second youngest brother, built this house in 1863, with a major addition added in 1895. It is almost directly across the street from the estate of his brother Clement. Peter, J.M., and Clement each owned 1/3 shares of Studebaker Brothers Manufacturing Company, founded in 1868. As company secretary, Peter drew an annual salary of $2,000. Henry, the oldest brother, had already withdrawn from the company and retired to a farm on South Bend's south side. The youngest brother, Jacob, 24 in 1868, was not a general partner of the original company. Last in our tour of homes is the magnificent mansion of Clement Studebaker. Standing at 620 West Washington Street, this home was built by the second oldest Studebaker brother. Born in 1831, Clement and his older brother Henry founded the firm of H&C Studebaker in 1852. In 1868, he purchased a large home that stood on a portion of the land now occupied by this mansion. Known as Tippecanoe Place, this house was completed in February of 1889. The architect was Henry Cobb, described as one of the best-known, most successful architects in the Chicago area in the 1880s. Tippecanoe Place rises majestically only a few blocks from downtown South Bend. The site is 395 feet by 296 feet, in addition to a plot of 274 feet by 90 feet, which originally was occupied by the carriage house and greenhouse. Ground was broken in the spring of 1886. For the walls, architect Cobb selected granite boulders of St. Joe County, deposited there during the Ice Age. The trim is of sandstone. Tippecanoe Place has approximately 40 rooms. Each of its 20 fireplaces is totally different in appearance. They range from massive and imposing Romanesque styles to those in the bedrooms, which are Eastlake in description. The home also contained an elaborate central heating system of gravity-fed hot water fired by a coal and wood boiler. The walls and ceilings in several rooms are paneled with solid oak. The grand staircase is especially beautiful. The grand staircase is the most impressive feature of the mansion. The delicate and intricate carvings and the reclining winged lion guarding the base of the stairs impart an unequaled grandeur to the main hall. Every exterior window in the house is shuttered, and in each room the shutters match the mood and the predominating wood in that room. After nearly 100 years of use, the shutters still fold back into their casings with the same ease as they did originally. They, along with other details, are a tribute to the unknown craftsmen of South Bend. The Studebaker family took possession of their new home in February 1889. On September 13th, 1889, Mr. and Mrs. Studebaker celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary with a party in their new house. About 2 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, October 9th, 1889, a fire was discovered that extensively damaged the mansion. Mrs. Studebaker was painfully burned when she made her way from the bedroom to the nursery and rescued her grandson. The South Bend Tribune estimated damages at perhaps $300,000. It was estimated that it would take in excess of $75,000 to repair the building alone. The mansion was insured for only $25,000. Portions of the roof collapsed, and the third floor was extensively damaged. The second and first floors escaped the flames, but suffered severe damage from water. 10 days after the fire, the Studebakers entertained 150 members of the Pan American Congress for a luncheon following their tour of South Bend's industries. The mansion was then restored to its original condition. Clement Studebaker died in 1901. His wife continued to occupy the mansion until her death in 1916. The house was willed to their son George, and his family lived there until shortly after the announcement of his bankruptcy in September of 1933, when they were forced to seek more modest quarters. He was then 68 years old. Among the industries that George had invested in and lost his fortune, estimated at $6 million, was the South Bend Watch Company. The building remained unoccupied until it was used by the Red Cross during World War II. It was purchased in 1941 for $20,000 by E.M. Morris, founder of the Associates Investment Company, and donated to the South Bend school system for use as a school for handicapped children. After the school system vacated the building in 1970, control reverted back to the Morris family heirs. They donated the building to Southhold Restorations Incorporated. The building has been repaired and redecorated and is presently occupied by a fine restaurant. The present occupants are excellent tenants and gracious hosts, and encourage visitors to stroll throughout the mansion to see all of the rooms during their visits. This is the J.M. Studebaker building, located at 108 North Main Street in downtown South Bend. Built in 1910, this classic revival style structure was a private business venture of the J.M. Studebaker family and had no connection to Studebaker Manufacturing Company. It continues to serve the community today as an office building with retail space occupying the first floor. The original Studebaker wagon manufacturing facilities were at the southwest corner of Michigan and Jefferson Streets in South Bend. In 1874, they erected a 4-story building on this site for the manufacture of carriages. After Studebakers vacated this structure, it was used to house the first S.S. Kresge store in South Bend. Kresge occupied this structure until the 1970s. In spite of protests from many of South Bend's citizens, the building was torn down when Kresge vacated. Today, this plaque marks the location of the original site of the Studebaker Works in South Bend. In Riverview Cemetery at 2300 Portage Avenue, we find the final resting place of J.M. Studebaker. Born October 13, 1833, he died on March 17, 1917, at the age of 83. Outliving his other 4 brothers, he had seen his simple blacksmith shop become one of the foremost vehicle manufacturing companies in the world. Shortly after his death, Studebaker sold off the balance of his wagon-making business and equipment. In Bowman Cemetery, at 1700 South Miami Street, is the final resting place of the eldest Studebaker brother, Henry, his 2 wives, and many of his 10 children. Henry, born October 2nd, 1826, sold his interest in H&C Studebaker to J.M. and retired to a farm near this site in 1856. He died on March 2nd, 1895, at the age of 68. An interesting variation of the Studebaker name is seen directly behind Henry's monument. Samuel and Lydia Studebaker were the parents of Henry's first wife, Susan. This is the entrance to City Cemetery on South Bend's west side at Colfax Avenue and LaPorte Streets. It contains the grave sites of Jacob and Peter Studebaker. Jacob Studebaker, the youngest of the 5 brothers, was the first brother to die. He was born May 26, 1844, and died December 17, 1887, at the age of 43. After his graduation from Notre Dame University, he served the company as manager of its carriage works. Peter Studebaker, second youngest brother, was born April 1st, 1836, and died October 9th, 1897, at the age of 61. A partner in the company, he was involved primarily in the sales and marketing of Studebaker products. 8 miles west of South Bend, on State Road 2, is located the main gate to Studebaker's 800-acre proving grounds. To the right of the entrance road is the clubhouse, and to the left are buildings 89 and 90. These brick and steel frame garages, each with over 8,000 square feet of floor space, were built in 1926. The clubhouse, also built in 1926, is a brick and wood frame structure with 2 floors and a basement, and contains 8,000 square feet of floor space. Never intended as a residence, it was extensively remodeled in 1961 and used by then Studebaker president Sherwood Egbert as his home during his short reign in South Bend. After Studebaker ceased production of automobiles, the entire facility was sold to the Bendix Corporation. Bendix then donated the northwest quarter, including the clubhouse, to the St. Joseph County Park Department to be used as Bendix Woods County Park. The park, open year-round, contains picnic areas among the Studebaker pine tree sign, and during the winter months, a ski slope with lifts and an artificial snow machine. The large Studebaker sign in the lower right-hand corner of this picture is an evergreen planting of over 8,000 trees. Each letter is 225 feet high, and the sign is more than 1/2 mile in length. Day and night, winter and summer, engineers and technicians ferreted out the facts at this 800-acre outdoor testing laboratory. Sand roads, gravel roads, blacktop, straight, and crooked roads, smooth, rough, and cross-country roads, steep grades, water hazards, and a 3-mile, high-speed, concrete-paved oval test track duplicated just about everything that can happen to a car in actual use. Besides the many fatigue and resistance trails, effects of water on such parts as ignition systems, brakes, shackles, and bearings were studied in detail at the proving grounds. Overhead jets at the water trough could be used to simulate a cloudburst. The depth of the water in the trough could be governed from nothing to 6 feet deep. Sustained high-speed tests were carried out on the 3-mile paved speedway. Super elevation on the curves permitted taking them under full throttle. 30, 40, and 60% embankments permitted the engineers to study body roll, car stability, and engine operations under conditions of extreme inclinations. All these and many other facilities were utilized in pre-testing Studebaker cars and trucks. This building, located at 520 South Lafayette Boulevard, built in 1921 with an addition in 1927, contains 65,000 square feet and was designated as building number 70. It was used as a factory dealership and also housed the factory zone offices. In 1927, the building and business were sold to private interests. The dealership eventually became known as Freeman Spicer Studebaker Sales and was the largest Studebaker dealer in the world. Today, it is the home of part of the collection of the Studebaker National Museum. Billed as one museum under 2 roofs, the other half can be seen at Century Center in downtown South Bend. As we tour these 2 facilities, we will hear a 1952 promotional record about the centennial celebration that was distributed to dealers and salesmen who were unable to attend the festivities.
Listen, listen, for this is a story we all helped write, a story of the growth of America, the story of American enterprise. largest independent manufacturer of motor cars, proudly presents the noted actor, Mr. Raymond Massey, who will narrate the dramatic story of a great American company. We shall hear a living documentation of the growth and success of this company, with a history almost twice as long as that of the automobile itself. Here now is Mr. Massey and the Studebaker story.
Our United States has long been referred to as the land of freedom and opportunity. Freedom, one of the most valuable words in our language, means basically that each of us can do precisely what we please with all that is exclusively our own. That each of us may work at a job of our own choosing. Opportunity means that each of us shall be given an equal chance to attain success. In the light of present world events, it is refreshing indeed to relate the Studebaker story, if only to remind ourselves that the way we live and work in America is by far the best and most comfortable and most satisfying that man has yet devised, and that has been developed by free men actively exercising their freedom. Recently at South Bend, Indiana, the Studebaker Corporation was honored by a testimonial dinner. Some of America's most eminent citizens, leaders of labor, business, and government took part in the centennial celebration for the company. Let us listen to some of the things they had to say on that occasion. In that way, we may gain an insight into the philosophies, the doctrines, and opinions of those who manage our industries, direct our labor unions, and serve as our governmental leaders. First, here is the voice of the Honorable Henry F. Schricker, Governor of the state of Indiana.
The name Studebaker is known around the world. It represents integrity, enterprise of the highest character. We may well remember tonight that this business, starting from a little blacksmith shop 100 years ago, is truly a part of our American heritage.
Yes, Governor Schricker, truly a part of our American heritage. Now let us turn back the calendar to 1852, the year history recorded the humble beginnings of today's great Studebaker Corporation. With just $68 worth of capital, two of the famous five Studebaker brothers opened a blacksmith and wagon building shop at South Bend. Their motto was, always give a little more than you promise. In modern merchandising terms, it can perhaps be better expressed as building product quality to ensure customer satisfaction. However, since its inception, Studebaker has known that it takes more, much more than mere slogans to gain the confidence of the public. Mr. Paul G. Hoffman, former president of Studebaker, gets to the heart of the matter with these well-chosen words.
If I were thinking of the one thing in which I take the most pride in the record of Studebaker, it's in the record of the relationship between men and management.
Naturally, Mr. Hoffman is mindful of other salient data. He could have dwelt on the point, but did not, that Studebaker has over 3,000 dealers, independent businessmen selling the company's products to their friends, their neighbors, their fellow citizens of their own communities. This is the way America works. Woodrow Wilson explained our way of life with these memorable words. America is not a mere body of traders. It is a body of free men. Our greatness is built upon freedom, is moral, not material. We have a great ardor for gain, but we have a deep passion for the rights of man. Studebaker has long been recognized as a leader in the field of labor management relations. It is proud of the fact that generations of its employees, thousands of father and son teams, scores of grandfather, father and son teams, 3 generations, work shoulder to shoulder along Studebaker assembly lines. We turn now to the text delivered by Mr. Walter P. Reuther, president of the UAW-CIO. Mr. Reuther began his speech by saying,
It's a real privilege to join with you in this celebration of the Studebaker Corporation's 100th birthday. This is a new experience for me. I have never been to a 100th birthday party before. And the thing that's very unusual is that when a labor leader gets invited to a birthday of a company, that's something new in America. And I don't know of a better place to make that kind of a beginning than in a party of the Studebaker Corporation.
Mr. Reuther then warned us to beware of those who would destroy our way of life, and offered the success of this company as proof of the value of our American economic system.
And the Studebaker experience proves that free workers and free management, dedicating their resources and their energy and their common effort to a joint application of this task before us can perform miracles of production, can create the economic resources out of which a fuller and richer and more secure life for the great mass of people will be possible.
Today, as always in time of national emergency, Studebaker is producing for the defense of America. Jet aircraft engines and military trucks are rolling off its production lines. At the same time, Studebaker goes forward with all vigor in its production of motor cars, looking to the future, seeking constantly to provide more transportation, economical, dependable transportation for more people of the world by building its vehicles with extra care and value. That's in keeping with the policy handed down from the Studebaker brothers. The man responsible for these far-sighted decisions is Mr. Harold S. Vance, chairman of the board and president of the Studebaker Corporation. Mr. Vance opened his address with these words.
I am responding to the many fine things which have been said about Studebaker tonight, not as an individual or as an officer of the corporation, but as a spokesman for all of the men and women who make up the Studebaker organization of today. Some of these associates of mine work in our factories, as did I many years ago. Some in our offices. Some in our sales outposts, which cover most of the world. Some are Studebaker dealers. Some work for Studebaker dealers, selling and servicing Studebaker products. All are important and necessary in the Studebaker organization of today.
Mr. Vance, proud as he must be of his corporation's enviable record, emphasized the continuing need of teamwork within the organization he heads. For teamwork is the key to successful industrial operation. Studebaker dealers could not function without a saleable product. Studebaker craftsmen could not be gainfully employed unless dealers found a market for their labor. So it goes. Management, labor, stockholders, office workers, dealers, all interdependent and working together. The past 100 years is an indelible chronicle. But what of the future? Mr. Vance gives us this hope.
I wish now to turn from the past to the future and to say to you that the real significance of this occasion is not that this day marks the end of Studebaker's first century, but rather that tomorrow marks the beginning of a new century for Studebaker. The difference between today and tomorrow is that today is pretty much an accomplished fact. Tomorrow holds unknown but boundless opportunity. Those of us who for the time being have charge of Studebaker's affairs see a future much more intriguing than the past.
Now, if I may, I would read you a letter I received recently. My dear Mr. Massey, we of the Studebaker organization are delighted to hear that you will narrate our centennial album and so reenact for the members of our far-flung organization who could not be with us some of the significance of the reaching of this milestone in the Studebaker history. A milestone reached in a large measure because of the years-long loyalty and tireless energy of those independent businessmen who sell the vehicles we make, the Studebaker dealers of America and other countries. Cordially yours, Harold S. Vance. It would be redundant for me to add to or rephrase this letter, for in a few brief sentences, Mr. Vance expressed a sentiment wherein he left little area for improvement. Returning once again to the Studebaker Centennial Dinner, a highlight of the affair was the performance of the Studebaker Male Chorus. These 50 men from the assembly lines, offices, and shops of the South Bend plant won the plaudits of all for their stirring rendition of a song especially written for the Studebaker Centennial. We hear them now, singing exactly as they sang then, rolling along for 100 years.
Dream and all 100 years ago, the famous founding brothers could never guess or know that when they built their wagons and hitched them to the stars, someday their name would shine in fame on horseless motor cars. Rolling along for 100 years, sing of the Studebakers. Wagons and buggies and automobiles, sing of the Studebakers. Born in the year 1852, dream of a dream and it all came true. Hard as a whip or any old trick, sing of the Studebakers. Over America's hills and plains, we'll for a mighty nation. Thundering horse and wagon train, spirit of transportation. Rolling along for 100 years, ride on the grand old maker. Rolling along for 100 years, sing of the Studebakers.
Sing of the Studebakers. This is Raymond Massey bidding good luck, Godspeed, and best wishes to the entire family who proudly bear the name Studebaker.
You have just heard the Studebaker story with Raymond Massey as narrator.
But without you.
Yeah, I never realized that before.
Hey, this is great. Take this guy, for instance. He might be physically careless for reasons he can't control. Or maybe he doesn't even care. Or this one. I gotta show him both how the one hood or fender he dents, the bearings he drops, every day adds up to a lot of wasted cash. Or how sloppy workmanship means extra wasted time and money in repairs. Or puts out more rejects than is humanly possible. Day after day, gotta convince these guys they're wasting effort and money, and eventually you'll injure the product, the company, and their own job security because of bad quality.
Sure, but first, you've got to find out why, don't you? Because good or bad, there's a reason behind each one of your everyday work problems. And good or bad.
I know. Me, the supervisor. I'm responsible for catching it.
Look, what do you do when something goes wrong with the machinery?
Go in, dig around, isolate it, then fix it up.
It's about the same with people. You're a kind of a attitude mechanic. Your own attitude is a kind of a tool that helps you control people.
Like this, huh?
No, you can't be all tough.
Well, then maybe like this.
And you can't be just indifferent either. That's right. You've got to handle each situation with firmness and each situation differently. Some people take a certain amount of understanding, others a certain amount of toughness.
Like at home, huh? With the kids, the neighbors, in a poker game?
Why not? They're people, aren't they?
Listen, I want to tell you, you can't tell me.
But this, 1,000,000 times a day at least. What kind of mechanic's tool can I shove in his mouth?
And let me tell you something, Jack.
Or the steward.
Job knowledge, company knowledge, contract knowledge, and people knowledge. Big fat supervisor's tools. Part of life to blow off steam. Everybody has his own way. Maybe it's legitimate, maybe not. But you know the job, the union rules, the contract, know them cold. And you know the union steward. He works for you, like the other guys. You're the supervisor, he's not. Let him know your supervisor's attitude.
And if it's good and honest and knowing, the problem can probably be solved without going any farther than you.
Kind of like a triple play, huh? The men to the steward to me.
Only nobody's out. Everybody's in tune. Your goal's the same, to be happy, to turn out a product of high quality that'll sell, because it turns around and affects all of you in the end.
Hey, these characters don't scare me anymore.
Because you understand them, and because your leadership skills are beginning to spread out and take effect.
Leadership?
Sure. Knowing what you already know about different kinds of people. Knowing about pension plans, benefit plans. Knowing how to hire, fire. How to handle grievances. How to plan and organize and control workloads. How to discipline so you get better work. You're the leader. As supervisor, you're the one person your people should come to for information. So you've got to know more about his job than anyone working for you. More about the company you all work for. But you've got to meet these people on the floor and get to know them. Understand and work within their attitudes and prejudices. You've got to promote and keep good work habits. Cleanliness, getting to work on time, no absenteeism. You've got to create the incentive for high-quality workmanship. And you do it with leadership. Knowing how to handle people, how to give them confidence, make them feel good about you, about the company. And you've got to communicate up and down the line so everybody can understand and know what you're telling them. So you can take the guy who bellyaches, the one who's eager, the one who's lazy, or stubborn or sensitive, and win his confidence. Soften him up. Make him blend in and perform with the unit to make a good, solid production package for the company.
Marilyn Monroe?
Maybe not, but you can make a product with equally modern lines and just as high quality.
And believe me, brother supervisor, when you do that, when you take time to know your people, to shape their attitudes, to provoke their will to produce, you'll be doing a job for yourself and your men, because the only security you have, your men have, the company has, depends on your ability to get minimum grievances, maximum cooperation, high quality, high productivity for a top automobile